Hey everyone, I make LPS customs and I'm currently showing you some previously made customs right now. And in today's video, I'm going to be giving you all of my tips and tricks for customizing LPS. But before we jump into that, in collaboration with GSJJ, I get to show you these pins I designed. They came out so perfect, literally, like exactly the way I drew them. The best part is that GSJJ offers low prices, free shipping with no minimum quantity requirement, and so they're literally perfect for turning any artistic designs that you have into customized gifts. Personally, GSJJ is going to be my go-to company from now on when it comes to my small business, and I'll pin the link in the comments for you to check out. Okay, so these are the two figures that I'll be customizing in this video. They have some damages, so I don't feel too bad about ruining them. But I'm gonna be head swapping the chinchilla. There are different methods for head swapping, but the easiest for me is just using a blow dryer to soften it up because the heads just pop right off. The peg didn't really fit into the neck, so I had to use my nail drill just to make a bigger opening. It turned out cute though. I think the base is perfect. Eek. This is a cursed head swap. Should I do it though? Should I turn it into a custom? Now, with customizing, you always have to remove the paint underneath. I noticed that sometimes manufactured paint is kind of slightly raised, so I want a smooth base, and that's why I removed everything. With sculpting, I use two different types of clay. It's all personal preference, but I use polymer clay for detailed sculpting like hair or any really tiny details. And then I'll use epoxy clay for bigger things like a dragon tail. Clay tools definitely help me a lot, but you don't really need them. So I'm starting off with polymer clay. And I'm adding a little drop of water because it helps me smooth it and blend it in a lot better. I actually ended up switching into gloves, which I really recommend because it helps keep your fingerprints from showing up in the clay. And here I'm just using a dotting tool because I kind of had this idea where I wanted this to look like sand. A really important factor when sculpting is using an armature to support your pieces. You do not want the clay to eventually pop off, so I use a push pin and I just stick jewelry wire into the LPS. At this point, I knew that I wanted to sculpt coral and place them on top of the sand. I didn't have a game plan here, by the way. I was just doing it as I went. I actually don't plan out or design customs beforehand. I probably should though. Here's what I had done so far, and it was looking really nice. So with epoxy sculpt, you actually take two equal parts of the clay and mix them together. I just kind of spin it, roll it up, and mash it until it's a solid color. To soften up epoxy clay, I use isopropyl alcohol, so this makes it smoothable also. And unlike polymer clay, where you have to bake it for it to harden, with epoxy clay, you just have to wait several hours for it to harden. Now, I use sandpaper to sand down the sculpting after it's cured. Not necessary, but you know, just a little extra step. I'll also use a nail drill to carve the clay into a more defined shape, and it could also be used to give a realistic texture. Do not forget to dust off any debris before you start painting. This is really important. Always thoroughly clean your brushes. Please, please clean your brushes because this is not it. Really quickly, I'm going to show you with this brush and how to clean it. So I kind of just slightly swivel it in some acetone and then I'll rub it on cardboard and you can see the dry black paint coming off. If you notice acne bumps underneath your paint job, this is going to prevent that because old dry paint flakes will fall off and get into the mixture. Finally, I just rinse any acetone residue off and then I reshape the bristles with my fingers. Do not forget to clean where the base of the handle and the bristles meet. As you can see here, this is where the paint will flake up the most. Giving your custom a base coat is so important because any layer of paint that you put on top of the base coat will come out evenly in color. It also gives a surface for the paint to stick onto. I'm using an airbrush to do the base coat, but you don't need to. You can just do dry brushing. I simply use an airbrush just because it's a quicker process for me. This is an old custom that I did by hand though with dry brushing, so as you can see, you can still get that smooth paint job by hand. Now it's time to start painting. My desk is usually cluttered with paint palettes and cardboard and jars, and I always accidentally end up knocking shit over. And then it gets everywhere and I have to clean it up. It's so annoying. So this time I'm using a paint basin. So inside you can see the grooves at the bottom for cleaning the paint off of your paintbrushes. The grooves next to it are for wiping excess water off, and then these holes are for holding your paintbrushes. Here I'm just placing in the brushes that I regularly use for customizing, and usually when I customize I'm always scrambling and looking for a certain brush since they're all over my desk. Oh, so we're actually gonna start to paint now. Okay. This is another really important tip. Always water down your paint. I live for this pipette. I always use this pipette for adding water to water down my paint, and the purpose of that is because this is very crucial in achieving a smooth paint job. You'll need to build up layers in order to get the desired color that you want, but please make sure that each layer dries before adding on another. To speed the drying process up, I use the air setting on my airbrush, but you can also use a blow dryer. Another tip I have is after you dip your brush into paint, swipe your brush onto cardboard and then stop as soon as you have the consistency that you want. This little trick actually helps me a lot because there have been times where I accidentally put too much paint onto the custom and then it starts running and messes up my whole design, or there's either too little paint and then it's dry and streaky. Another tip, so in between painting, the paint on your brush gets clumpy or dry and starts flaking, so it's really nice if you refresh your brush while customizing. If you practice swiping your paint stroke onto cardboard to get the consistency you like, it'll just become a habit. I literally do this all the time without even thinking. Okay, I'm gonna show you another thing. So right here, when I make a stroke, you can see the paint stroke, like you can see the lines, it's raised. And if you allow it to dry, it will dry just like that. So before it has the chance to dry, you're going to want to smooth the paint strokes out and just do several swipes. Moving on to the eyes, I always think black is just a little too harsh, so I usually mix it with a blue or a brown. I always start off with the eyeliner first. I just think it's easier this way, and then I'll layer everything else on top of it. A little tip, you can always use a pencil to map out the eyeliner beforehand. As the second layer, I'm layering on the white part of the eye. And since I always water my paint down, it does take a few layers. For the third layer of the eye, I start to design the irises. And then lastly, I finally get to do the pupils. Guys, I love my airbrush. I live for a good airbrushed custom. Alright, lastly, we must seal our custom, and so I'm starting off with a satin varnish first. And you're definitely going to want to water down the varnish. I'm using my airbrush, but using a paintbrush is fine, or they also have aerosol can varnish sprays. Please don't skip this step. We're gonna do several layers of this, and it's gonna blur all of the pores and really tie the custom together. After the satin varnish, you can see that it's a little too glossy, but after we cover the satin varnish with matte varnish, it's gonna give us this perfect combo that resembles the texture of a real LPS. Damn, I really just gave y'all the Krabby Patty secret formula, so now run with it and go make me proud. No, but I hope this was really helpful. I'm always learning as I customize, so I'd love to hear any advice that you guys might have. I'd say the part that I really struggle the most with is the eyeliner. Oh my gosh, it kills me every time. I do not look forward to it. But I hope I get better with practice. If customizing seems very daunting to you, just keep doing it and keep practicing, because I literally only started customizing about maybe 5 months ago. But yeah, I really hope you enjoyed this video, and thank you so much for watching.